Good evening. I call to order the City of Gerald regular called City Council meeting Tuesday, April 7th at 7 p.m. First item on the agenda, the roll call. We do have all members present. We will now have a invocation and pledge of allegiance led by Pastor Brett Haas of First Baptist Church here in Gerald. I'd like to stand up.
Mayor, and I would like to say to you and to the entire council, well, and actually to all the city of Gerald, thank you. My wife and I have been here 2 years now. We love this place, and you guys have been wonderful neighbors. To our council, I want to say thank you for being here, doing what you do. You don't have to do this. You choose to do it, and it's not always easy. And it takes you away from your families. It takes time out of your lives. Sometimes gives you grief, and especially when things are difficult and sometimes controversial decisions have to be made. Comes sometimes with vitriolic opposition for those who don't agree with what you do. I am a pastor. I understand. Thank you for what you do. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. We come before you tonight thanking you, first of all, for the gift of life. You tell us in your word, let everything that hath breath praise the Lord. So we praise you for who you are, for what you do, for your love and merciful kindness towards us through your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. You are why we are here. The city of Gerald exists today because of your divine goodness and desire. You are worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for you have created all things. For your pleasure they are and were created. This council gathers here tonight, Lord, to oversee and guide the welfare of our city and our people. You tell us in your word that they are your servants. We thank you for the calling of public service placed upon this mayor, on these aldermen and alderwomen. We ask you to give them your wisdom, grant them clear minds, pure hearts, and a will that is unselfish and esteems others ahead of themselves. Help them, for they need your help to discern the best path forward for our city. May they navigate the varied issues that come before them tonight with fairness and with integrity. I ask you to foster among them a spirit of harmony, that they may work productively together for the good of all our citizenry. Remind us that we are your servants, doing your work for the benefit and blessing of your people. That your will be done through them on earth as it is in heaven. And as we pray tonight for our city, we ask your blessings of protection on our first responders, our police, our firefighters, and our emergency and medical servants. Lord, guide them in their work. Tonight, Lord, may every discussion, debate, and decision result in the peace and prosperity of our city. We look to you, Lord, and trust the blessings of our city into your hands. In the mighty name of Jesus our Lord. Amen. Amen. Join me as we stand and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, agenda item 2.1, we have a proclamation for April as Child Abuse Awareness Month. Whereas the month of April is recognized nationally as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month, a time to raise awareness of the critical issue of child abuse and neglect, recognize that every child has the right to grow up in a safe, nurturing environment free from abuse and neglect, and acknowledge the well-being of our children, the shared responsibility that strengthens the foundation of our community. And whereas child abuse and neglect impact children of all ages, races, socioeconomic backgrounds, posing a significant threat to their physical, emotional, and developmental health, requiring a united effort to address. And whereas the Williams County Children's Advocacy Center is dedicated to its mission of providing hope, healing, and justice to children and families impacted by abuse, violence, and exploitation in our community. In 2025, the WCCAC conducted 968 forensic interviews, with 50% of cases involving sexual abuse, 23% physical abuse, and 19% neglect, predominantly impacting children ages 7 to 12, followed by 13 to 17-year-olds, followed by newborns to 6-year-olds. Additionally, the WCCAC provided 385 medical exams, supported 621 families through advocacy, delivered trauma therapy to 158 individuals, educated 23,526 community members on child safety, and 2,853 volunteer hours represented by over 700 volunteers. WCCAC plays a pivotal role in providing a safe, supportive space for children who have been abused, offering comprehensive services that promote healing for both child victims and their non-offending family members. Investing in prevention not only supports healthy child development, but also significantly reduces long-term costs to society, ensuring resources are directed toward fostering growth and resilience in our children. And whereas the City of Gerald recognizes the importance of raising awareness about child abuse prevention and supporting efforts that empower families, train communities, and foster partnerships with local law enforcement and child-serving providers to create safer environments for children. Whereas we must continue to stand together as a community to protect our children, advocate for their rights, and ensure they have the opportunity to thrive and reach their full potential in a supportive and loving environment. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Patrick Sherrick, Mayor of the City of Gerald, hereby proclaim April 2026 as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month, and call upon all citizens, organizations, and community leaders to join together in a shared effort to prevent child abuse, raise awareness about its impact, and support the vital work of the Williamson County Children's Advocacy Center in providing hope and healing for children and families. We got somebody here I can listen to. All right, awesome. Yeah, for sure.
Come on, come on. Oh, come here. We'll get a really fast picture, sorry. Do you want to give it one? Yeah.
Thank you.
Super quickly, I just want to thank all of you guys for your investment into the children through the Advocacy Center. And we don't do our work alone. It is with law enforcement, it is with the SPS, but just really want to thank the city, and you've heard how many volunteer hours and community members it takes as well. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for your investment. Thank you for what you do. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is public comments. We do have 2 of them here. Let me know if you want to talk now or at the agenda item. It's up to y'all. First, we have Jenny Roberts Axelrod.
I'll go ahead and speak when the topic is brought up.
Agenda item, okay. And then we have Wayne Sanders.
I'll wait till the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we have consent agenda items. I'll accept a motion to accept unless you would like to.
Motion to approve as presented.
All right, we have a motion on the floor in a second. We go for the discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. You are unanimous. Moving on to regular agenda items. Agenda item 5.1, discussion and updates regarding city financial safeguards and internal controls to enhance security, strengthen oversight, and ensure operational integrity. Additionally, an update on bond issuance, and the process has been completed and all proceeds have been successfully received and deposited.
Mayor, Council, thank you for your time. Before you have the updates we have that we move forward with our financial safeguards. On Thursday, April 2nd, the bonds did deposit into our capital funds account and also our debt service funds. The debt service was to pay the AG and fees. No issues, everything was completely there. However, there are safeguards we put in place. One of them is a positive pay. It's going to send us a alert every morning at 8 a.m. We have until 11 a.m. to make sure all the checks, any activity in our bank accounts are correct. If we don't get it to 11, then it automatically populates. So that's one thing that we will be doing to make sure that is seen. Also, we'll also have a 2-step authenticator when making payroll, making purchases. So one person will authorize and the other person will send it into the bank. And then we'll also email the bank as well too. So these safeguards are both part of our audit items to identify, and then also making sure that our funds are more secure. Questions? And there's no fiscal impact or cost to any of these. It's more duties for staff to ensure that we have better eyes and are able to see what's going on with the funds.
Who's monitoring that till 11 a.m. every day?
So it goes, so the template will send it, get an email from the bank, will say, yes, checks 1, 2, and 3 are correct. If there's anything doesn't quite look right, we'll say, hey, this doesn't need it clear. So we'll also have accounts payable myself, and that will identify those items before it goes to the bank.
So there's multiple people that can monitor it.
Yes, so purpose was not to be person dependent, so everything doesn't funnel into one house. The one thing that we also did was create a finance email where everything will funnel into a finance email, which is a shared mailbox. Several will have eyes on it as well too. And today actually was the first one we processed our payroll, they kicked it back, and they were still setting up part of our process. So it is efficient, and we've been in communications also with our bank manager, Vice President Jason, to make sure that if there's anything we can clean up, anything that we can also move forward, it's best practices. So we've been in meetings with them. I think we have another one Thursday, Friday, to also identify any of those items.
Thank you.
you.
All right, agenda item 5.2, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding city council memorandum of professional fireworks display services for July 4th, 2026, not to exceed $40,000.
No, there was no action required on that one, it was just discussion. That's it.
It's just to update you where we are identifying potential safeguards as well.
Oh,
No, that was just informative.
okay, thank you, ma'am.
Council Mayor, before you, you have quotes for our fireworks. This is an activity put on by the city. It is to be taking place on July 4th. The quotes in front of you, it will be council decision on whom to choose. And this is already a budgeted item we've already accounted for this year.
He says council's decision, it's awarded to you, but has staff vet it.
Yes, so staff has vetted this. We had several departments that worked to get the quotes, if you will, in place. At this time, without a city manager, we would have to have the mayor's signature, and just for transparency, so you guys have eyes on who those quotes were, what was included in that display.
Who did we use in the past? Do you know?
We used Gary with Hyro.
The first one.
Well, his show was only, I read through all these, I don't know if y'all know this, his show was 15 minutes. And then there, the other one, the one that was the same price as his, was, like 27 minutes or something.
Right.
Yeah, the next one's a 20-minute.
The second one's out of budget. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, I don't know, I thought Liberty, are we talking about it? Yeah, I thought Liberty fireworks looked the best. Going on how they detailed out everything, and then same price as the pyro, you get 25 to 26 minutes. And then, you know, one within our budget, you get 30 to 31 minutes, which that doesn't really map out. It's like,
$15,000 for a few extra minutes.
yeah, I mean, I think, 25,000 for 25 to 26 minutes is pretty good. And we'd be on the budget, and that'd be nice. Now, Mary, you're from Lincoln Fire.
I
am. So did you look at these and, because I don't know if he's actually telling you what all you get. Are these good displays of the fireworks?
Yeah, I mean, a fireworks show, you can set up a bunch of fireworks at one time, put up a good show, or you can sit there and light one, light one, light one.
Yeah,
It's about seeing the whole list of what everybody's offering.
right.
Maybe a better 15-minute display than 25, just depending on how quickly they're lighting them off and
Yeah,
at what rate, so.
In the event of a rain, absolutely.
I know Pyro is a local company, in this area, and I think that's why we went with them. Previous years is because they are based here,
Right.
essentially in Gerald, so
Yes, so the
that's why
two,
we've chosen them in the past.
the two differences are Pyro is here in Gerald locally, and then Libertyville is gonna be coming from San Antonio. In the event that there is bad weather, if you look at the documentation, we'll have to pay upfront at contract signing. The reason why this was, a more time-sensitive item is that cities around us, as well as other businesses, are setting up for the 4th of July, so we definitely wanna make sure we get on a calendar with somebody. And then, if it may rain, I can't say what would happen, but we'll pay half upfront, so it
So
could be a loss, or that'll have to be a discussion. I don't have the answer, but I got to follow back.
did it rain last year? Did they redo
did.
it? We didn't redo it.
We didn't redo it, we just paid the half to set up.
Oh, we had to pay that.
Is there not event insurance available for weather as it relates to the expenditure?
I don't have that answer, can I follow up?
That's a good question. So had we rescheduled it
So that was an
last
option.
year?
Yes, I do believe that was an option to reschedule it, and I'm not sure if we got on the calendar to make that complete.
Last year, we chose not to reschedule it due to the events that happened regionally with the flooding. We felt that it was a very somber time.
That's right.
Okay.
I forgot. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve GW Pyro as presented for the fireworks display for the city of Gerald 2026.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. It was unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 5.3, discussion, consideration, of possible action regarding ordinance number 2026-0407-01 regarding an update to the City of Gerald fiscal administration policy.
Okay, council, before you, you should have a strike through ordinance. The difference is the 2020 is identified as blue, the original symbol. Very minor changes we made on that. The main thing was updating it from the 2020, which was brought to our attention, that there was a previous one in place, and updating it to the 2026. This will also be updated with our procurement manual annually, and then also our fiscal management. For procurement, it's going to be pretty much spending of the money, and fiscal management is how we manage that money, and including the budget. one thing to point out is on page 1, compliance with the law, Texas Local Government Code, targeting municipalities require a proposed budget to be prepared by the budget officer. So that language is updated. And then just changing language, there's language out of sequence, it says Director of Finance. The Finance Director is gonna be the language, so it's consistent throughout the language moving forward in everything we do. And then just identifying the word control, the finance language is internal controls, it's just management of the money. So adding that updated language from control to internal controls. And then one key point, we have the municipal clerk that collects the vendors. This is something that we're historically doing already within our procurement manual. The finance department as a whole will be identifying those vendors in the department, make sure they're still in compliance and they are good vendors. That list of updated vendors will be identified with the budget process annually as well too.
Is this item time sensitive?
No, this is not sensitive.
Council, Alderman Clausen, our term's not had, adequate time to comfortably review it. I would recommend tabling it for now, just to give our normal time to thoroughly go through it.
Motion to table as recommended.
All right,
Was that a motion?
we have a motion on the floor to table. All right, a motion on the floor to table and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Unanimous?
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
And you don't do get to your, is it projected that that'll be complete before the next meeting?
It should be, I'll check with Melissa, that was one of our partners that was working on it, so I think so, it'll be some time.
Okay, thank you.
Did we skip over 4.3?
That was 5.3.
That was 5.3.
But did we skip over 4.3?
Consent?
No, that was consensus.
This has got all the budget stuff in it. Okay. Never mind.
Okay, agenda item 5.4, discussion consideration of possible action on the Williamson County Atlas 14 floodplain mapping regarding work authorization number 4, supplemental work authorization, an area LiDAR update of the Salado Basin and incorporated areas of Gerald, Texas. Use forest.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So staff was approached by Williamson County back in February of this year regarding a option to do a scope of work, basically to what Atlas 14 study has already been done for Williamson County. When that was done originally, it didn't encompass the city of Gerald because the city of Gerald was not a part of the NFIP, so the National Flood Insurance Program from FEMA. So that was recently done back in summer of last year, is when council approved to become an NFIP participant. With that being said, the city does not have any floodplain map, so it makes it very difficult for us to regulate floodplain development. The county's offering to add in all of the tributaries within the city of Gerald city limits and then surrounding areas, so ETJ areas, and providing updated LiDAR data to make sure that we have accurate contours that reflect the most recent changes in development patterns and erosions within the area. And basically, that's the ultimate kind of scope. And then we have Chris Wright with the Williams County Engineering Department to kind of give more details if y'all have any questions. The total project cost came in at $99,000, so right at $100,000. This was not a budgeted item because we didn't even know that this was an opportunity, so we will have to come back with the budget amendment if this is something y'all want us to proceed with. So really, we're just needing direction on if this is something that y'all want us to proceed as far as exploring and coming back with the budget amendment. And then we would also have to bring forward an ILA amendment so that we have an actual ILA agreement to do this project. The cost, I don't know as far as budgeting, we haven't gotten that far to discuss the cost, to where that would come from. But there is an option to do like a 50% upfront that the county could cover, and then we could possibly pay that within the next budget year if that is something that y'all would be interested in. Chris can kind of expand on that, but is there any?
I have a general question, if I may. I know that we talked about the budget at our pre-meeting preparing for this evening, and I appreciate you looking into that. But what expenditure does it become before we are required to put out an RFP for service?
So for this type of project,
Are we able to participate? I'm not discrediting what we're doing. I think it's a valuable process to our citizens, and especially for the FEMA money and the insurance purposes. I didn't know if we were to proceed with this, are we in violation of not taking bids for it?
so because the county directly reached out to us to join on with their project, I don't think that we would have to participate in any official.
Can you
procurement,
clarify?
Right. Engineering is a professional services, so you don't have to do bidding, because it's basically off of qualifications. So you don't have to go for competitive bids.
Okay, that's what I want to clarify. Thank you.
Any other questions for me, or would y'all like Chris to expand on anything?
Timeline, if you're comfortable going over the timeline of the project.
Sure. Hi, my name is Chris Wright with Williamson County. I oversee our floodplain department. So right now, we are in the process of updating areas outside of city limits within the county, and as soon as we wrap up that current scope, we're trying to start this next phase where we then update floodplains within city limits. So right now, in this area, we are scheduled to complete that ongoing study around middle of May. So we're hoping to start this next phase in the summer of this year. And it's involving all the different cities within Williamson County. So it also will depend on when we get under agreement with all the other cities as well. But we are, like I said, hoping to start in this summer and hoping to wrap up this study by the end of the year.
Have there been any cities on board already for commitment to participate?
We have had some cities pass the agreement through their city council. I believe City of Round Rock is the only one right now with the most updated agreement passed through their city council, but we're still talking with several other cities as well. Any other questions?
talked about the split of the 50% now and maybe paying 50% later. And what would that be due?
Yeah, so the initial 50% would be due upon the start of the project. So when the county gets under contract with our consultants that are doing the work. So again, around this summer is kind of what we're targeting, sometime May, June timeframe. And so the 50% would be due up front, and then the remaining 50% would be reimbursed to the county at the completion of the project. And that's when all the cities' modeling and mapping is complete, by which we're targeting around the end of the year, this year.
So there's an opportunity for the next budget year. let's say,
For that second 50%.
What is the city currently using for a floodplain map?
So currently, we just use the base level engineering data through the Atlas 14 map, but that does not give us any regulatory compliant or regulatory stance, so we can't enforce it. We can recommend that they use that data, but there's no BFEs established, so base flood elevation established, which is something that helps determine finished floor elevations. So we don't really have anything to regulate developers to follow. So a prime example is like the Ace Hardware development. They kind of clear cut all that drainage area right there on the north side of 487. That's floodplain, regulated from FEMA. But on the south side, there's no regulatory floodplain in place because there's no maps for the city of Gerald. So we had no way to control what they did in that area besides providing detention. So.
How often are these studies typically done? Like when's the next time that?
The initial FEMA flood maps were from 1984, and then Williamson County started doing flood mapping 2000s, early 2000s, updating maps.
Yeah, I think this current study started in 2021 timeframe. But it's always just a snapshot in time because topography is changing, land use is changing. So it really is dependent on when funding becomes available. Our initial study was funded partially by the Texas Water Development Board grant. And so, yeah, it's not a strict timeline. It is really dependent on when funding becomes available.
Gotcha. And you know the county's cost to do, put on the study throughout the whole county?
The initial study was, I think, $10 million around for the whole county. And yeah, this current study that we're talking about with you all is going to be dependent on which cities participate, since the cities are fully funding all their studies, and we're still coordinated with all the cities right now. So I don't have a number off the top of my head on that one.
Gotcha.
Hearing what we currently use, how does the data that you provide compare to what you've seen historically the cities are using, as he's just mentioned to us? Do you see significant change or?
Yeah, I would say considering that there aren't, any floodplains right now, our models are providing what we call one-dimensional hydraulic models, which are kind of easier for developers to work with and manipulate. What's available right now that are not regulatory in this area are sort of two-dimensional models, which are very cumbersome for development communities to work with. And like I said, the BFEs might be more difficult to extract from those types of models. So the value here is that we kind of have these simplified models that the development community can work with. You can use them to extract 100-year water source elevations, and they're using best available 2024 LiDAR topography And, you know, eventually there will be newer available, but, LiDAR, but as I mentioned, it's always kind of just a snapshot in time. So we're trying to incorporate all the best available data right now in this study.
Can I expand upon like the BFE, FFE terminology? BFE is kind of like center of curve on a roadway, and then when you tell somebody that they have to be above the BFE, you typically tell them you have to build like 1 to 2 feet your finished floor elevation for like a house or a commercial building above that, so that to ensure that they don't flood. If the topography of that lot is below the grade of the street, then you would require like a specific drainage plan for that lot to prevent that building from flooding. So that's what they mean by the BFE and FFE. You would require like a house or a commercial building to sit above the curb so that to prevent flooding for that type of construction.
Thank you.
Do we have I guess it's gonna be for staff, do we know if we have the 50,000 available in the budget anywhere for the down payment part, or the initial?
So we talked to finance today, and she said that we could probably work with the 50,000 if we were able to do it split, and then the other 50 in the next budget year.
Yes, no,
No?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I did visit that by looking at the budget, we did go through those items this afternoon. It will require budget adjustment just because it wasn't budgeted for, and we don't have a contingency at this time. I do feel comfortable that the 50,000 we could come up with. Preferably, I'd like to do 50,000 this year since we're in the latter 6 months of the year, and then potentially the other 50,000 come October 1, which will roll into another fiscal year. I'm not comfortable saying for certain where that money is gonna come from, but it just would require budget adjustment to be able to identify those dollars.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, you said something about, cities Tuesdays. Wonder if nobody else does.
So if the cities choose not to fund the updates within their city limits, then they would still just have the current Atlas
Would that
14
affect our
floodplains.
cost?
No. Well, your cost is specifically for your city.
And staff recommends approval.
Yes, given the fact that we don't have any floodplain maps and now we are NFIP, it does put a sense of priority on the city to regulate and enforce the ordinances that we've adopted for floodplain management. So I would definitely recommend that we get something in place. I don't know if it would cost more to do a study on their own. I would assume it would. But given that this is through a grant, I mean, ultimately, yes, they're paying a consultant to do the work, but I feel like it's probably a better deal for the city than what we could get on our own. Especially as we continue to see growth and development in the area. I mean, it's definitely gonna be impactful for managing upstream and downstream to make sure that we don't have any adverse impacts on property owners, so.
Okay.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, the grant we received was to partially fund our initial study, but this addition to that study is not being funded by grants.
I'll make a motion to approve the caveat that we have to find 50,000 in the budget to do it. If we don't have the 50,000, we have to revisit it
So your motion is
To-
contingent
on
budget?
that 50,000, that they find it in the
I'll
budget.
second that, that was my struggle.
Just need to come back to council, make sure that we have the funds, or just,
I said if we have the funds, roll with it.
Yeah.
okay.
That's it. If we have the money, that's my motion.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor and a second. No further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. It was unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 5.5, discussion, consideration, and possible action on the utility service agreement for the Cactus Road development as described in more detail in the utility service agreement. Would you like to speak now or after?
I'll wait for staff if they want to start.
Okay.
If they had, we're planning on
It's me.
it. Oh, sorry.
I mean, I'm gonna be up here for most of it.
Council, you have seen this agreement come before you multiple times. It is the utility services agreement for the Cactus Rose development. Property size is approximately 83.354 acres, located on County Road 305 in Gerald. It's in the ETJ of the city of Gerald, not located within the city limits. This is to establish terms for water service, infrastructure responsibilities, and capacity allocation. The development will utilize on-site sewage facilities. No wastewater service is being requested. You can see the location of the proposed development on the screen in front of you. County Road 305 is this road right here. 35, Interstate 35, please. Just to give you a general idea of where this is located with the city. Property is located within the city's water CCN service area. The developer did request a utility service agreement to define the infrastructure obligations. City council provided provided direction on January 6, 2026, indicating that there was no interest in additional data center development. The revised agreement did remove all wastewater provisions, confirms the on-site sewage facility or septic tank usage, and does not require voluntary annexation. The property is not located within the wastewater CCN of the city. Just a reminder, under Texas Water Code Chapter 13, a city holding a CCN is required to provide water service to properties within that CCN. Key considerations would be the ETJ status does not control water service obligations. If the property is located within the CCN, service shall be provided. Service must be provided upon reasonable request. Denying or limiting service may expose the city to Public Utility Commission enforcement or legal challenges. Utility service agreements may regulate infrastructure standards, cost participation, timelines, and milestones. Utility agreements cannot be used to deny legally required service. So no direct financial burden to the city for the on-site infrastructure. The owner is responsible for designing, permitting, and constructing on-site water permits, acquiring off-site easements, and constructing upsized infrastructure if requested, subject to reimbursement terms. The city shall construct the CDBG grant funded regional improvements, the 12-inch water line that we did just install along County Road 305, which has been completed. And long-term benefit infrastructure investment supports the city's future system needs, and LUEs refer to the city if unused, which is part of the language built into the utility service agreement. Staff analysis. Again, owner responsibilities, construct all on-site water improvements, obtain required off-site easements, participate in upsides and for regional benefit. City responsibilities, construct regional water line improvements, again, the 12-inch water line along County Road 305. Assist with off-site easement acquisition if necessary. Capacity allocation for the feasibility study completed for this project. 450 LUEs, which is living unit equivalents. allocated to the project. LUs are site-specific and shall revert to the city if they are unused. Fire flow and regional capacity, commercial fire flow dependent on the Cardinal Farms regional improvements, which is a development located along the frontage of Seabus Stockton, North Seabus Stockton Week. And development milestones, agreement track annexation. They will not be annexing zoning platting or permitting through the city with the exception of the water line since it is going to connect to our city water supply. Milestones vary depending on the residential or commercial classification. The property does lie within the city's water CCM, triggering a legal duty to serve. The agreement clarifies infrastructure responsibilities, secures water capacity for the project, protects the city through cost sharing and reimbursement provisions, and aligns with city infrastructure and fire flow standards, and reduces legal risk while maintaining city control over development standards. Staff is available for questions, as is the applicant representatives.
Do you have enough water to support 450 LUs?
So we do have them considered in our chart.
Okay.
So are they gonna put a data center or no?
Yes, I believe that their intent is to put a data center out there.
Is it,
As of right now, it is.
do you have, you have a buyer or a?
It's the same buyer for the Missonis project. So what they view it as sister projects.
Yeah,
So they'll have each project, it's the same exact buyer. So it's a title and RG, so they're buying both projects and they'll be siloing them back and forth between the two.
So what about, I heard, Donald J. Trump say that he's putting a slowdown.
Yeah, behind the meter solutions, that's what we do. That's what our infrastructure company does. We're behind the meter, natural gas solutions. That's what the governor of the state of Texas is requiring now too. That's been our plan the whole entire time, even when we presented y'all Missonis from the beginning, if y'all remember last year. So we were following that code before it was actually enacted.
So the one down here by the high school is in our city limits,
We annexed in.
but this one's not.
Correct, we went through a process of trying to, but it got stringent, internally, wanted to see that first and then this second, but in terms of the buyer, they needed to do that simultaneously, so we couldn't continue to wait from our standpoint. And we're still open to, at a later date, to consider that. We've talked to the commissioners, we've talked to, city, staff, and we're very open to, because I think it'd be beneficial from a monetary standpoint, from a budgeting standpoint to the city. And we're still willing to work with you guys on that front. Like, we're not shutting our doors by any means, but from a business decision, we had to continue moving forward.
So what would it do different if we had you, all these things we have to do, what would it do different if we had you in our city limits? Would we have to do more, or we have to do it no matter what?
You would reap, well,
Yeah, I get that.
Yes, you'd actually have more regulation over them, because you could say you have to plat to be standards, you have to build to be standards, if they were in the city limits.
Well, I don't see why we wouldn't want them in the city limits. If they're gonna give us money
So
and
they have to
they're,
do a voluntary annexation, and, we did not receive positive feedback that zoning would be approved for their data center.
Did that only go before P and Z?
Oh, no, ma'am.
That was- that was before us.
In front of this body.
It was here, you weren't here that night, and neither was Drew, and I felt like maybe it was mixed. I think that it was a discussion. I've gone back and reviewed it. I would like to, if they're going up in our city, we need to get something out of it.
So we need to cancel voluntary annexation at this point?
yes, that's what we discussed with the commissioner and, internally with our, team. I think either way, from our standpoint, it's gonna be the same exact, benefits internally. But I think from your guys' benefits, that obviously benefits, it's the same. Missouni's doubling the city budget, then you're talking about tripling the city budget from that standpoint. It goes from $7 million to 14. simple math. Simple math. But I'll let, Wayne kind of go into.
Dalton, I do have one
Yeah.
more question. We've talked about, property tax revenue. Is there sales tax revenue from these as well?
That's where most of
That's
the
where the
revenue
majority
comes
comes
from.
from.
That's where the majority comes from, sales tax. You get billions of dollars of equipment inside those buildings.
That's personal property tax, right?
I
Sales
don't-
tax, sales is it?
Yeah, it's personal
I
property
don't-
tax.
Well, we sent you, I'd have to check
Personal
on.
business property tax.
Correct, so we sent you guys a whole pamphlet that shows you the breakdown of that $7 million in the Masonic, but I just didn't have it for review right now, because I wasn't expecting to discuss that tonight.
With no disrespect to you or what you're proceeding with, would we be able to reconsider this next month and, freshen council with all the information as it relates to voluntary annexation?
I mean, I think from tonight's meeting, it's more so referred to, the USA, so I think they're two different subject matters. I mean, because we already got tabled last month, so we're still trying to move. But I'll let Wayne kind of.
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor. I'm Wayne Sanders. I'm attorney at Steve Vine Imperium, represent the property owner, and I'm not gonna reiterate what Ms. Bell went over, but I mean, I think the important thing here is that there's an absolute requirement under the CCN that regardless of the use of the property, that the water be provided. The utility service agreement is a different issue as to annexation, and I know that the utility service agreement was tabled, but I don't think we've had an explanation on why. And because it is a requirement, what we would ask, and I'm not gonna dwell on this long, what we ask is that part, the USA, either gets approved, and so that the development of the property can continue or can get going, or we get an explanation of why it's not being approved. As Ms. Bell said, the terms of the agreement have already been negotiated, they've been approved by staff, they're fair, they follow the city's recommendations in terms of LEUs, they set forth the potential uses for the property, which could be either residential or the data center. It's not explicit to a data center. It requires that the property owner meet all government approvals and milestones in order to get final service. So we would ask that the agreement be approved and not be tabled again, but if there's a reason not to approve it, we would like to get an explanation as to what that is. That's all I have. Thank you.
Now, you mentioned that this was on our chart. Do we have that available to review?
No, ma'am, I don't have this like on public, I apologize.
I was just looking at the big picture, you know.
So I think that, you know, we are working through that wastewater master plan. I am gonna ask KPA if they can present that to you, possibly in executive session, and include that information.
Do you think it's critical that we see it?
Yes, ma'am.
I know you stated that we have to service them. What exactly does that mean by law? Just when it comes to LUEs, like they get to demand whatever they want to if they're outside our city limits?
So typically when we do the feasibility study, we look at the densest used, the most dense use that you can get on that, because you can't regulate density in your ETJ. You can regulate density within your city limits, but not within your ETJ. So when they did the feasibility study, they did indicate 450 LUEs, I believe. is what you're-
Correct.
Yeah. So this utility service agreement does lock them into the 450 in case they revert back to a residential type use, so they do not have to come back before city council to amend the UA. It also says that any unused LUEs revert back to the city, since they are site specific.
Hearing that it is proposed to be a data center, what is your projected use of the LUEs?
Probably closer to 75. Maybe 100 at the most.
So can we have that under consideration rather than the 450?
Well, if we get to a point to where we have to revert back to single family, then we're stuck with 75.
Would you be willing to amend it to 100 for the data center industrial type use and then 450 for residential?
Let's look at.
I think that's why we tabled
Something
it
less.
last time. You
I think-
asked.
I mean, could we compromise and just meet in the middle from cutting it in half on the data center use?
225?
Yeah.
How does council feel?
Would that be enough for the homes?
I mean, what would be y'all's next steps if we don't agree to a utility service agreement? I would assume take us to court, force us to provide y'all with water. What kind of timeline, could they force us to provide them with water?
I mean, if they bring an action and apply them from PUC, then basically they have to proceed in front of PUC and then possibly court action. Go from that.
No, no sort of
I mean, I don't know the timeline, it would
like
depend on when they filed it.
Month, year, any kind of ballpark,
I'm not sure how long it would take, but
a while?
a while. Probably nothing, I mean, they don't move that fast.
I mean, my concern is guaranteeing somebody for 450 LUEs. We may have water today, but we have a bunch of agreements signed that we have to provide water to. So 3 years from now, I don't know when y'all plan on building, 3, 4, 5 years, by the time y'all construct whatever it's gonna be, data center or 450 homes over there, we might not have water at that time. So that's a consideration for us that we have to look, because developers don't build everything that they say they're gonna build today. And I don't even know if our staff knows how many LUEs that we have guaranteed out over the next 10 years. I've seen some charts that are pretty boring. And so I know right now we don't have the water for 3 years from now, unless we go out and find water. So that's something that we have to do on our side, is find water, to actually supply those 450 LUEs. So that's one concern that we have on this side, at least for me. Can't speak for other council members.
You said that data, that chart on what's already, as you spoke to, on what's already been improved in the past, and then moving forward, and depending on who goes vertical at the time, it is concerning on whether or not we're gonna be able to truly serve, knowing that we are behind.
I guess I got a question for you. What if we ran out, I have no problem with our building, okay, that's all I'm saying. What happens, it goes upside down and we just run out of water, but we have a commitment, what happens? I mean,
Arguably, it's a breach of contract,
right,
but I have not actually ever seen that happen. So I'm not sure, it might be a first impression, but, technically it's a breach of contract, and there'd have to be, you could amend it, they could choose not to develop, or possibly you could take it to court, and I don't know what kind of damages that would look like, but probably the loss of revenue is something they could possibly sue, but.
we can't tap into the area lakes and stuff, because they all belong to the city already, so.
Right.
I think that if we could have a comment from the engineer on basically how, I mean, I think that what has been committed is taken into consideration by the engineers when they approve the 450. So I think that there needs to be some context on that point.
Yeah, we submitted a formal utility act request for the 450 LUEs, and the city's consultant, and we waited 6 to 8 weeks because they were just starting the city's master water plan. That's KPA study. So I think they took into account when considering this additional 450 LUEs into the city's master plan, including future demand and already commitments. That's as it was conveyed to us, and I mean, KPA's here, but that was considered in that, the city's master water plan, and they have a master wastewater plan they're also developing. So I think that was considered during the feasibility analysis that KPA did. We submitted an application, waited 8 weeks, got a result from KPA. There's a 12-inch water line on the property that the previous landowner, dedicated to the city, and the 12-inch water line was installed. And it was, that's enough to support the demand. Because really, going back 5 or 6 years, this property was proposed to be developed as a 450 to 500 lot subdivision at one point. The lift station across the street in the new development was sized for that project. And so I think that was maybe part of that plan for a while at least. So I believe KPA took all that into account when they did their analysis. And that's a whole study we have. That was the city's response. If you want the 450 LUEs, here's what you need to do. And also we need, commercial fire flow, which is really just a peaking demand. And, really the big kicker there is that water line going up and down, Bud Stockton extension. That needs to be in place, we hope the Cardinals Farm puts it in. If not, there's a provision that we could do that, as part of this project, if we needed to expedite that. It's not, again, a good benefit to the city, putting that, regional improvement in. But I think it was considered in the feasibility study.
And I appreciate that, and our job is to look what our consultants tell us and critique it, because we've had consultants and lawyers and everybody look at all of our previous agreements that we've signed over the past 10 or 15 years, and there's been issues with them. So just because a consultant tells us one thing, we can't just base everything off of that. That's my opinion, at least.
We're under legal obligation to provide, so,
We don't have it to provide.
we just prayed about water spreads for a while, we can't.
I'm not a fan of I'll just say the location of it being right, essentially in the dead heart of our city. Is there no other property that y'all would be interested in looking at? Even if the city were to incentivize you to move locations, can we find one?
I'll let them answer that, but we're getting into two different things. You have the obligation to provide it. What is planned on going there would use less water, which addresses the concern of whether or not you have water. When you get down to the root of it, is what I'm hearing is it's the data center that's the problem. The lower water usage issue that you're required to provide water for is the issue. And so if the real concern of council is water, then you should approve it and let the data center move in, because that's going to address your water problem because of the lower usage, if that's the real concern. But if the real concern is actually not the LEUs and the amount of water, but it's where the location of the data center is, well, I think you have to go back to the fact that that they are allowed to build that there, and you have a requirement to provide that water.
Let me clarify mine.
But I only can be worried about one issue when it comes to developments. I can't have multiple concerns.
Oh, no,
I'm allowed to do that?
You are, but if the concern is a data center, then the lower water usage should be a benefit.
I got you.
Just so you know where I'm coming from, sir. Every time there's development comes up, I'm the one that's questioning whether we have a plan. That's historical. It's not you, it's not them. That's just my concern.
And I think it's fair. I think it's a fair question. I think we have water, everybody's concerned about future water uses. You look at Liberty Hill, you look at the different situations going on. I absolutely think it's valid.
So that's where my standpoint is. So,
Honestly, think it's muddy water. I'm gonna motion to table. Until we get clarity.
So what are we clarifying?
These charts, what do we have when they say it all comes in with the studies? Because we've had those studies come back before, as Mayor just reported, and it not be accurate. I don't wanna make an inaccurate decision.
kind of backed into a corner because they're in an area that we're legally required to service.
Well, how, if we're not gonna rely, I'm just playing devil's advocate, if we're not gonna rely on the water feasibility study that's been provided, then how else are we going to confirm if there's water or not? What else, what more could we get?
I think we review it again. I think we need to see what's already been promised and not delivered yet, and then I would even be opposed to getting a second opinion. Just to know that the decision I'm making is going to adhere to the request, that's all.
Okay, we have a motion No second, it fails.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve this because we don't have a choice in the matter.
For clarity, how many LUUs is in your motion?
450, as it's presented. With the expectation if that becomes a data center, we get what's unused back to us. As it's written.
But they're agreeable to 225.
So that,
They were just agreeable to
right,
225.
but what happens to, if the data center doesn't come in, we're only build 250 houses? See?
Yeah,
250.
alternative.
250, if it's a data center, we'll reduce it, but if the data center doesn't come through and it's residential, then it stays at the 450.
So you're proposing, just so that we're clear and council's clear, the agreement would read, if the property is developed as a data center, then you're allocating
Makes adjustment to it.
250. If it develops as a residential, it would remain at 450.
Yes,
I just want to make sure we're clear on what,
I gotta tie up 250 versus 100.
because you anticipate the data center, so,
Correct.
okay.
Well, I mean, it would still work the same way. If you don't use all 250, they'll
Right.
bring it back. I mean,
It's the same thing.
Okay.
Can we make a condition of annexation with everything?
No,
No.
no.
but you're willing to.
100%.
And when can we start that process?
Tomorrow?
I mean, if we're gonna be there, our city needs to benefit.
Then I'll modify my motion to approve 450 if it's residential, 250 if it's a data center. I'm not gonna put any conditions on
Can't.
the annexation. So that's gonna be my motion.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor in a second. There's no further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Passes 4-1. Okay, moving on. Agenda item 5.6, discussion consideration of possible action on ordinance number 2026-0407-02, an ordinance of the city council of the city of Gerald authorizing the abandonment and conveyance of a .05 acre portion of a public alleyway subject to the reservation of a .05 acre public utility easement, providing a severability clause and providing an effective date. Mr. Forrest.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we were approached by the property owner at 701 3rd Street for an alleyway abandonment request. This is the Hernandez. And so what we're including in this is going to be abandonment of the alleyway or the public right of way, conveyance of that property to the property owners because they are the adjacent property owner on each side of the alleyway. And then providing a public utility easement for perpetuity for us to maintain our sewer lines, and then for Joe Shortner to have maintenance and maintain their water lines, and then for Encore to have access for the electric. So this is the subject property. So this is at Avenue E, and then between 3rd and 2nd Street. It's that little white shaded area on the map. The subject property consists of approximately 0.05 acres, and it was just platted as part of the Gerald Township plat, so way back in the day, and it's part of Block 35. And it was dedicated as an alleyway, which is basically being used for utilities. The alleyway is not needed for access of transportation because there's a single family home and then a vacant lot next to it. And the alleyway is actually abandoned on the northern side of this block, so there's really no point for us to even have access through there for the alleyway phase. So the justification, so abandonment eliminates the unused public right of way, clarifies adjacent property ownership, removes unnecessary encumbrances, returns the land to private ownership, and the tax rolls, and then, public utility easement provides us the assurance that we can have continued utility access, and then protection of existing, future infrastructure, providing us access. So there's no immediate cost, obviously, long-term benefit, property returns back to the tax rolls, obviously it's not that much, but it's more, and reduce city maintenance and responsibility to maintain that right of way.
That's a permanent easement, correct?
Yeah, it would be perfect. So staff analysis, the alleyway does not provide critical connectivity or require public access. There's no identifiable future transportation needs. Abandonment is legally permitted and appropriate. Conveyance of the property would be a deed without warranty, standard municipal practice, and then protects the city from future title claims, and then subject to all existing and reserved easements. And then the public utility easement would be perpetual and or in perpetuity, and it would reserve us access, like I said, for us, Gerald Schwartner, and Encore. And then provides the rights for installation, maintenance, repair, or removal at any point, and then it runs with the land to protect the utility. Staff recommends approval of the ordinance abandoning the public right of way, the conveyance deed without warranty, and then the public utility easement agreement. So here's your motions. So by approving the ordinance, that basically will approve us to proceed with having the mayor execute all of those other documents. Any questions? The property owner's not here tonight, but she would have been if she could.
And if we need it later, we could do something, you said?
So you
But
have
we
access.
probably-
Yeah, so you don't, basically, there's no need for us to have it as far as like, and so by doing the public utility easement, that grants the property owner the ownership of it, so they maintain it, and then we just have access to maintain our utilities. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why they came to this, because they've been basically maintaining the property, and since they own both sides of that block, it would just make more sense for them to have that piece.
No.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-040702 as read and captioned by the mayor, based on staff's recommendation and the findings.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Unanimous? Thank you. Okay, agenda item 5.7, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding ordinance number 2026-0407-04. An ordinance of the city of Gerald awarding a construction contract for the 1 million gallon elevated storage tank located near County Road 310 and Alsick Avenue, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with the selected bidder an amount as accepted by city council, providing for findings of public purpose, providing an effective date.
Good afternoon, council, mayor. This one right here, the 1 million gallon elevated tank, was designed and engineered by Mr. Coleman himself. He's here in the audience. This one will be fed by the ARPA line and the pump station that's being built currently. It's off of level 5, sorry, level 5. I believe you have a small presentation you want to do real quick.
You're lucky they're sitting there too long. Mayor, council, staff. I'm Steve Coleman, the owner of S.B. Coleman Engineers in Roundup. I've been doing municipal engineering in the Central Texas area for over 50 years. Various cities and water entities, etc. Our firm designed this ground storage tank for y'all behind City Hall here, and the 2 high service pumps, and the disinfection building, the chlorine and the elements. We also designed the water line, 16-inch water line from I-35 to this plant site. To bring Lone Star water to the ground storage factory. Also, I'm the engineer for the Lone Star Regional Water Authority. And, we're the ones that, designed and created the first, Lone Star project to bring a 24-inch line from Circleville to Gerald. Serve the three customers. And thank goodness we got that project in. That line is to deliver 10.5 million gallons per day, and y'all have a nice percentage of that water. I wish you had more of it. But anyway, I'll give you some background on our firm. This elevated tank originally was going to be part of the $14 million county grant that we helped y'all get with Williamson County. But this was decided by General Swartner and Gerald staff to go ahead and put a pump station in over near County Road 303 and go through the 20-inch and 16-inch line from there over to this elevated tank site that we're talking about tonight. And so the grant's paying for the $5 million ground storage tank pump station and the water line to get water to this Alsace Avenue site. And that's under construction and it's to be completed by the end of the year. So we designed that facility and we look forward to its completion. So this elevated tank was pulled out of the grant project, and the city said, well, we want to build the tanks to improve our distribution system. So we tweaked plans and went through the public bid process and got 3 bids. And we took bids on a 1 million gallon tank, composite tank, that million composite. It's got the concrete cylinder and then the welded steel top. And you see it all over that area. It's not like a standpipe, it's just straight up and down. It's not like your leg tank back here. It's a composite tank. It's kind of be a gateway to Gerald on 35 right there. It's going to match the height of this elevated tank right here. So it'll flow with that, and it'll feed the south part of your distribution system. So it's a real critical element. And so we took our base bids for a 1 million gallon tank, and we took alternate bids for a smaller tank in case y'all couldn't afford it, and you wanted to spend less and put in a 750,000 gallon tank. And then we had some alternates bid for, in case y'all wanted to put them in for a spiral staircase inside the concrete riser instead of just a straight type ladder. And then we alternate bid on 2 mixing valves that are on the inlet pipe coming in. So I think y'all have my letter of recommendation in the packet. We've got 3 bids. The lowest bid was from Caldwell Tank for $5.8 million. But one of the conditions of the bidding form was to fill in the number of calendar days it's going to take you to build the tank. The reason we did that is because all the contractors that would build this size composite tank told us they were very busy, and it may take 2 years to build the tank. So we wanted y'all to have the option of timing in the bidding process. But Caldwell did not fill in the calendar days, so they have a non-responsive bid, in my opinion. So we've got 2 bids that were completed, and one of them was Phoenix Fabricator in the amount of $6.4 million, and they had 575 days in their contract. And then Landmark, $6.8 million, and they had 430 days for substantial completion in their contract. Hope I'm not boring y'all. that leaves two bids to consider in the award. We prepared a table 2, which summarizes the base bid and alternate bid amounts for the 2 responsive bidders, and it kind of shows you the cost per gallon for the tanks. So for the Phoenix tank, for a 1 million gallon tank, is like $6.41 per gallon. And Landmark's is $6.86 per gallon. And there's a savings if you award the Phoenix tank of $449,000. The Phoenix has 18 and a half months construction period, and Landmark has 14 months construction period, 4.5 months. So if we assume that an award is made now, the notice proceed to be given to the contractor in approximately 30 days, which would result in a substantial completion date of November 2027 for the Phoenix tank and June 2027 for the Landmark tank. And our firm performed a reference check on both tank contractors, and we had pretty good references on Phoenix building this type of tank. They built later tanks for me before, for municipalities, and did a fine job. We got a couple of negative comments from one engineering firm, but on Landmark, we got all good responses from everyone, including the inspection firm that I'm going to use to inspect the painting and the welding on this tank. He said he's inspected both contractors' tanks, and he just says Landmark's a lot easier to work with and provides more local project management attention. But he said, whoever you award it to, I'll do my job. You can build it, so no water. Landmark built a 600,000 gallon composite elevated tank for my firm for the Central Texas Water Supply Corporation, east of Salado. And the project went really well. That was 12 years ago. So, recommendation of award. This may not be fair to give you options. You may just want me to recommend something, but I've got 3 options here. If the city wishes to have the tank online within 14 months, we recommend that the contract be awarded to Landmark in the base bid amount of $6,856,000 plus any alternates on the award. Number 2, if the city desires that an additional 4.5 months is acceptable for completing the tank, then the contract can be awarded to Phoenix for the base bid amount of $6.4 million. Number 3, though we do not recommend that the city reject all bids, the city has the option of doing so. Prices have historically increased over time, so rebidding the project would likely cost more money, but you never know. And so those are the recommendations if y'all want to discuss them.
I do have a couple things I want to add to it. Landmark has also landed with Gerald Schroeder Water. They're building their tank as well. Landmark is also located here in Texas. Their fabrication place is also here in Texas. So whenever they are constructing Gerald Schroeder's, they're going to be jumping ship next to us next. So when they build their base, when they're done with it, they're coming to us to build their base. When they're done doing every step, they're going to be jumping straight to us after that as well. Landmark is actually the inventor of the composite tank. If you have any questions.
You said Landmark's construction or fabrications here. Where's the other companies at?
They're out of state. I remember off the top of my head, unless you know.
Indiana or somewhere.
Yeah, it's pretty far out.
They're building, we got crews in every state right now. They're building over Most of these companies are building over 200 tanks right now. That's why they stretched out so much.
What's this additive bid for two 12-inch diameter check valves? Do we want
That
that?
mixes the water when the water comes in from the pump station. It's a top fill pipe that comes up through the bowl and drops near the top. And these are put in near the bottom, and when the pumps come on, the valves open and they let a little bit of water come in at the bottom and most of it come in the top, and it gives you a mixing effect to mix up your disinfectants and keep your water.
Is this added on?
Sir?
Just added on, we don't have to have it, or?
So yeah, because we don't have to, those two there, we don't have to have, I recommend we do the, ductile valve. It's gonna help with our blending and our mixing processes. The staircase ladder is not a requirement that it has to be on there, that's just there because
And
it's.
these two 12-inch diameter check valves are not a requirement.
Well, let me say this, if you award, the landmark, the add-on is $19,000, and I highly recommend that you put those in. If you award the Phoenix, their price was really high, I recommend we don't award that, but, we'll go back to the drawing board with them and see if they can lower that price. But I would like to see them go in. So if either contractor can put them in for about 19,000, then
We'd like that.
we're good.
But what do you guys think about the staircase?
That's something that one of the contractors recommended, it's just kind of it's a nicety, you know, when you just walk around,
Yeah.
clean it up instead of climbing them straight up, so, but really you don't have to go up very often, you have to change the light bulbs on top of the tank and you know, if you need to go up, you go up. You have a safety climbing device you use, so it's just a nicety for your operations.
But we do want this, two 12-inch diameter check valves for 19,000.
Yes, but I don't wanna award them with Phoenix, I don't know.
If we go with Phoenix, then we don't wanna go with that because their price was outrageous on it. If we go with Landmark, yes, we would want to go with the two check valves, the ductile valves.
Are those much better than if we have two 12-inch diameter check valves?
I wanna have them on either contractor's tank, I just don't wanna award $119,000 for something I get for $19,000. So the award would be base bid, and then we come back later with a change order and get something reasonable.
But if we go with Phoenix, we're saving almost 450,000. So,
That's correct.
and then you're saying that the one price was outrageous, but still, we're still saving quite a bit,
Yeah,
even with the.
Yeah, you wanna look at your base bid for your award and then deal with the alternates, separately. It's my recommendation.
Based on your professional experience, why do you think there's a roughly $400,000 spread between us? What am I getting for $400,000 from Landmark versus, I mean, what am I getting, do you think?
You know, why are they
It's just
$450,000 higher?
They all bid the amount based on their own schedule and other projects they have going, and how bad they want this tank, and how bad they don't want this tank.
Okay.
If you were gonna go out and just buy a tank and they're all the same price because of Landmark's reputation, you'd probably buy it. But there's some Phoenix composites around in the area on the reference sheet they gave us, so, I can't say anything too bad about them. One engineer had trouble getting along with them or something, but that happens.
And I spoke with another engineer person, they're having trouble with, them not sticking to the completion date. They kept pushing it out further and further as well.
We also had issues in Phoenix, same concern, went past their construction time for another project. Do you want to state who you are? I'm Aaron Ross with MRB Group, sorry. Apologies.
what it's worth, I didn't fill out a card, but I'm Gary Stanford with Landmark. If you guys have any questions for me? I'm welcome.
Let's ask you. Ask him your question. What do we get more of, Landmark?
Yeah.
Since you're here.
Yes, sir. If I may, thank you, council. I appreciate the opportunity. And, you know, we've been around in this industry. We're the innovators of the composite tank. We know the elevated tank and composite elevated tank market better than any other contractors. We build more elevated construction towers than anybody else of this style in the U.S. We have local, myself, I live in Georgetown, I'm 20 minutes away to this project, and we have crews available. I think would be the most important consideration. I've got crews ready to start this as soon as the end of this month. We can get started on this job. We also bring to the table a very dedicated team of planning professionals who do this day in and day out in terms of getting these water towers projects off the ground. We'll work with Mr. Cowell in getting questions RFIs early on. As soon as we know that we're getting this job, we'll jump into it even ahead of the contract execution period. We're not going to let the paperwork hold us up from being able to plan and get started on this project, hit the ground running, and make sure that we can get you guys the water that it sounds like you really need.
What's illegal to us and turn down the price?
Is that right there?
Is the timeline critical on this project?
With the developments that are trying to come in down on the south side down here.
Okay.
So is my understanding there was potentially 4 agreements that were pending this tower, have those been identified?
Do you know which developments they are for that?
Stone Legend, which is the one closest to this project, or Sierra G is the closest to this project. And then Sierra G, Stone Legend, Ton, and.
Is it the gas station as well?
Yes, Texas Star and the VAT food service, those are all pending lists. And just as a clarification, this is a bond-funded project from the bonds from last month. So.
And how does the completion compare with those pending projects? The completion date that's been proposed for us to complete the tower?
I mean, it meets their timelines because a lot of them are on hold waiting for this. So.
Yeah, probably the quickest project or development that is coming up is CRG, and they are about to start their infrastructure installation. They have not started any water, wastewater installation as of yet.
And that pump station that the Grants building that we designed, we had to put a hydromatic pressure tank on there to turn the pumps on and off, keep pressure on the new line going in until this elevator's built. And then when the elevator's built, the hydro will be bypassed, and the level in the tank will turn the pumps on and off with telemetry scanning. And so there's some benefit to go ahead and get that gravity storage online for fire protection. Because if you have a hydromatic pressure tank and you have a fire somewhere, you have, even though we've got an emergency generator there, it's not like having gravity flow to fight a fire. And y'all don't have any fire protection that in the town that I know of, except from this tank here and the line.
We have one line, that's it, that's all we have there right now.
And so from a fire protection standpoint, you'd have it 4.5 months sooner than not.
How many gallons a day is the ARPA line and this water tower gonna bring to the city? You don't know?
The ARPA line is designed to pump 5 million gallons a day. 2.5 to drop off at Gerald Shorten's office, 2.5 would come on up to the tank. Peak condition.
And do we have a water source for that 2.5 million gallons a day, or that's something we need to find?
No, that's not, we have that water source for that right there.
We've got the y'all's concerned about having enough water in the future, of course, we've done studies to bring Carrizo, Wilcox water in and all kinds of stuff, but, the facility is designed to, take the Lone Star water, which is treated surface water from Lake Georgia, Lake Granger. And we have it designed to take in, well water from the Trinity. And those two sources could blend together and provide an adequate water supply, so, like y'all's contract with Lone Star, and there's not, that 5 MGD is probably a little high for contractual amounts for the two parties, but, when you get some groundwater in there, it'll boost that station up the supply, so we have that figured in there. And I think y'all are looking at some well stands right now.
Any other questions or concerns? Okay, motion?
One more point of clarification, so the base bid is 6.8, why is it here a not to exceed amount of 7.1?
Just in case you were to add
That's
the
one.
Contingency.
Contingency.
Yeah, that is about $213,000 contingency for the end of the debt bill.
I'll make a motion. Motion to, award to Landmark, and we need to include the valves in that motion. To award to Landmark, including the, addition of the two 12-inch, check valves.
Not to exceed.
Whatever that comes up to make that.
And if it's easier on the motion, you can award the base bid and we can change order these additive bids in, just with the document later. You don't have to address which alternates you want right now. So I said, well, I want to do duckbill valves, so let's worry about that next month, let's just get this thing ordered. And then I'm kind of hearing that y'all don't want to staircase another tank. You want to save the money, is that right?
My motion's the tank plus just the valves. That's my motion.
But anyway, if you want to just award the base bid, we can do that and then add the alternate. And later you can say what you want right now. Get it over with.
Say what we want right now.
All right, so we have a motion, to approve the base bid and the two valves.
Two valves.
To Landmark.
To Landmark.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. It was unanimous. Thank you. All right, moving on to agenda 5.8, discussion, consideration, of possible action regarding ordinance number 2026-0407-05, an ordinance of the city of Gerald, authorizing the mayor to execute a developer participation agreement and associated documents with N.W. Wilco LLC for the design, construction, and installation of a water line extension along County Road 305, providing for the city's participation in an amount not to exceed $360,000, providing for findings of public purpose, and providing an effective date.
So this one, we started this project, it was, the CDBG, funds that we had. We were expecting it to get all the way from County Road 307 all the way to Seawest Stockton. Funds ran out really quickly. We had a couple of unexpected deeper bores that we had to go through. There was a lot of, utilities in the ground. So our bores ended up going from a certain footage to a lot deeper, about 16 foot on certain ones. So our budget was getting cut into earlier. So we only made it to a certain point. This right here, so we actually had them give us another, like what it would cost for them to continue going. And it was another, they were like $460,000 to continue putting that in. And that was just a here number. It wasn't even a full-on number. So we told them to go ahead and just pack up, finish everything, and then continue on, get their cleanup done and get out. Then when we reached out to the developer of Cardinal Farms, and because they were relying on that line to get to them as well, they offered to put in that line for us at not to exceed $360,000. I want to say we have what was the footage on the first one, the one back? 1,200, about 280 linear foot we were short. And this will get us all the way to Seawest Stockton, and they will continue the line rest of the way to their property on their dime, and then dedicate it to the city.
Now, if you couldn't make it on the last, how sure are you gonna make it on this 360 now?
Because that's what they gave us to get it to there. So regardless, they're gonna take it to their property. The people that are putting this line in are taking it to, no matter what, yes, sir. So they're taking it all the way to their property, so it's gonna go to the Seawest Stockton and all the way and down it to their end of their property line.
Where's their property at?
Ooh.
We're right across the street from the high school stadium
Okay.
on Seabus Stockton, basically right across the street. Sorry.
So that's the proposed Cardinal Farms development. The developer is going to take their water line up north Seawest Stockton to the intersection of Seawest Stockton and County Road 305. The portion that the city is missing is that portion that Forest is running along 305 right now, about 1,280 linear feet. That's the section that the CDBG money fell short on to get the water line to that intersection. For economy of scale, we did ask the developer for a quote, since he's going to be out there installing the water line anyways, and that was the information that he brought back to us, the quote that I believe is included in your staff report.
The 360?
Yes, ma'am.
And, I know it's a repeat question, but does that have to go out for public bid?
No, because it's basically a requirement, this is an oversizing of their project. And so it's essentially the city's putting a requirement on them to get that project in, so that's why we're doing it as a developer participation agreement. And it's reimbursement based, they have to pay for it out of pocket, and the city reimburses them. Yes.
Before we even asked him to provide a quote, we vetted the city legal department before we even approached him.
Are there any easements involved that would cost us in addition to the 360 that we're seeing now?
There should not be. Right away. This will be in the right away. Yeah, I apologize. Just to clarify, this water line will be located within the right of way, so no easements required.
Is there any projected expansion to the current roadways that would interfere with where the lines are projected to go?
It's all on the other side. It's all on the other side of the road.
That was the.
If we can get, we have MRV here to discuss it as well. There should not be any
Yeah,
conflicts.
this portion is to the west of where the current expansion that we're gonna talk about in the next item, but
That's what I'm asking.
Plus, the county said they'd move the water line if they needed it, if it never needed to move it, move it at their expense.
You have that in writing?
I'm sorry?
Do you have that in writing?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, y'all do.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the agreement we gave y'all. I never put anything in writing myself, man.
And I assume staff has looked over it and agree with the cost amount, if we were to get another company out here to put it in, it would be similar or cheaper. I would
Yes,
say.
sir.
Cheaper, because the one that we asked was, they gave us, just their base bid was around $450,000, something around there, and that's just them just guessing right now. So they could have went up even further probably.
Point of clarification, so there is money allocated in the bond. It was not allocated specifically for this, but it could be covered through this because it's a water line project. We would have to bring back a budget amendment in the future, so that way it could actually be allocated, since it was not a budgeted line item.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve ordinance number 2026-040705 is read in the caption by the mayor based on staff recommendations and the total project cost not to exceed the $360,000.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. There's no further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. It's unanimous.
Thank y'all, council, I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And staff.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 5.9, discussion consideration of possible action regarding ordinance number 2026-0407-06, an ordinance of the city of Gerald authorizing design relocation of utility conflicts within the County Road 305 roadway improvements project area, authorizing the mayor to coordinate with Williamson County and execute necessary agreements, including an amended interlocal agreement, providing for expenditure in an amount not to exceed $240,000, providing for findings of public purpose, and providing an effective date. Steven.
So this one is a Williams County project. They're gonna redo that road we were just talking about all the way up to County Road 307. There's a lot of utilities in there. When they originally came to us with this, there was an ungodly amount of conflict that they were telling us that we had to relocate on our own. MRB is here with us as well. I'll have him if you need any questions here in a minute for him. But that cost originally was around $2.3 million to relocate all these lines that are in there. And there's so many lines that are in here that are basically new, and we don't see the reason for having that to relocate. So MRB did a lot of work to get them all the way into proving them wrong that these are not in the way. And then, so there we got down to two, I believe it's two that are in the way that we have to relocate. The $240,000, that is only 20 of it we'll need right now for engineering costs to have this engineered to move. The other 220 will be able to budget it for the next fiscal year. So right now we're really only kind of asking for 20,000 right now to be able to do the engineering. Aaron, is there anything that I am missing?
No, that's about it. Yeah, so initially, the initial cost came in, as you mentioned, at $2.3 million. As Stephen mentioned, we went through a lot of the record drawings, as-bills for a lot of these water lines dating back to, 2018, before my time here with the City of Gerald. We provided those documentation to the county's engineer, cross-reference, cross-sections, ensuring that a lot of these water lines, hey, these aren't in conflict, please reassess. So we got that number down from $2.3 million to the high end number of $240,000 that you see there. So what started with 4,300 linear feet of conflicting utilities is now down to something around 200, just based on research and clearing it up. So that's where we stand. And that started back in November. I'm sorry?
How much did that research cost us?
Of my personal time, it was during, I recall doing this, I had some quiet time during Christmas break, so I think it took me about a day, 8 hours of my time, so. You need peace and quiet sometimes when you gotta dig through record drawings, and that's the best time. Well, Christmas is on Thursday, so I have it Friday.
Okay, you're needing 20,000 now, where do we get that from?
When we spoke with finance, she indicated that there was availability of funds, but we would have to come back with a budget amendment, since this was not a budgeted line item, for the 20,000. And then the next budget year could encompass the remainder portion, because the project's expected to not be started until November.
With that relocation, has there been confirmation that it won't be any additional easement costs?
That is correct. These are both perpendicular to the road, so it's not going parallel. So it's just essentially, one of them is just crossing a little bit deeper for the future plans and lowering of another line. So.
If we're gonna ultimately have all these kind of infrastructure projects coming up, how do we avoid this and them coming at us with this many more conflicts in the future?
Yeah, so a big reason as to why a lot of these warranty complexes comes through the review process and also designing them. I know for myself and other clients, anytime we're reviewing or trying to design a water line going under a road specifically, different counties will have different requirements. The lower the better, because you never know what's coming. Just kind of following those design criterias and enforcing those rules helps in these situations. We followed those rules way back when they were designed that way. It helps to instill that, and we're out of conflict in certain areas. The ones that are really hard to kind of avoid is, they're trying to put a large culvert. I understand the big to help with, flooding areas. They're gonna put a big concrete box. You can't really plan for how deep one of those might come, but that's definitely one of those, like, okay, we missed that, but we didn't know it was coming. So.
How long has the county had that plan?
The county came to us in November 20th. That was the initial conversation with us.
Was it on the future roadmaps?
From my experience, I would assume it may have been. A lot of these counties will have, hey, we plan to expand this road 20 years from now, and all they kind of explain to us maybe it's just the right-of-way depth, they won't, or length. They won't come to us with the actual, like, here's the ditch is going to be over here, and a lot of those details don't come until a lot closer to the date.
So when we're putting in our infrastructure, are we using their projected?
Yes, with this, we'll be talking to their engineer exactly, like, give me your CAD files, we're gonna implement there, and we're gonna just, it's gonna be.
So before anything that comes out like that, we definitely check and make sure that there's not any improvements coming to the road that are, could possibly interfere with these lines in the future. So we try to make sure we look ahead of time and try to find and make sure there's nothing that's gonna conflict these lines.
The problem with future development is that a lot of these county roads have a 50 to 60 foot right of way, and some of these planned roadway expansions are 120 or 200 feet wide. And so for us to go and tell a developer that they're gonna have to acquire easements within 50 feet of that property, then it can basically put a big gap between where the existing fence line is and then where the easement would be for that future right of way that we don't know when it's gonna be constructed. So there's a balance of trying to mitigate that, but then working with the county as best as possible to mitigate it from a future standpoint. But with our updated infrastructure design guidelines from December that we approved, that ultimately will help us be more prepared and have more, better allocation as far as like what the depths need to be and all of that, before it was based off of old infrastructure.
And how old are these lines that we're moving?
These are fairly new. And that's the reason why we pushed so hard to get the ones that they were saying in conflict with before. And basically said, well, that road's gonna be ours at some point. We don't mind if they're underneath the road right now, because when it's time to replace them, we're gonna rebore and put a new line in. And so at that point, so that, it wouldn't matter if it was, taken out right now anyway as well, because we're on that road.
And it's something that I assume needs to be done so the county can
Yes.
move ahead with their
Correct,
project
yes.
to fix and expand
Correct.
that road, which, that road's pretty bad, so.
Yeah.
We met with the county, they're not willing to share in any of the cost of this, or have we asked, or?
A portion of cost savings that will be implemented for this is, instead of bidding out the relocation separately, they're gonna be adding the relocation to their road design project, so it'll be bid as one, and that in turn will have some cost savings, just, not getting two contractors, having a bid as one project. So overall, there will be some just cost savings in the process.
Just using the same vendor, if you will?
Correct.
Yeah, not no.
Yeah, so
no direct conversation on asking them if they'll share the cost, or meet us halfway, or compromise, or other
do
than
you
just
have any
sharing
knowledge of
vendors?
any of that or not?
Conversations that we've had with the county's representative, Brightline, HMTV, did not indicate that they would be covering the cost of that. We had multiple conversations with them. How did it get to this point? What can we do to resolve some of these costs? And this was their resolution, like, we'll work with you to remove some of the utility conflicts, or say that they're okay to stay under the right of way. But there are two specific ones that do have to be. So they did work with the city, but my personal opinion is that the county would not be willing to cover any of the costs of those utility relocations based on the ILAs that we have with them.
What can we do, like in service, to avoid this happening?
It's kind of the same thing as what we've been doing, is making sure that we're staying ahead of what's being built and what's coming in. Other than that, I don't know if there's any.
Existing right away on County Road 305 is very tight. There's a lot of utilities there. I don't know that this could have been avoided, to be quite honest with you, given that our utilities are on the south side of the road. The majority of them, the north side of the road is Gerald Ford Water Supply Corporation, and we do have some utilities that cross. So the utilities that cross, this more than likely could not have been avoided, given that they're gonna put drainage features there, widen that roadway. So I don't know that this particular utility conflict could have been avoided.
And that's what, I think, aren't both of these drainage for where they're coming from? I know for sure one of them, I'm correct. Yeah, so they're both drainage, they're upsizing their drainage, and that's where these two are coming into play.
And as far as protection for the city in the future and other municipalities, again, easements always help, and sometimes execute easements will have language in there that specifies, if the county is trying to claim additional right of way, it is on the property owner's expense to provide another easement, and then at that point, the county does have to pay for those relocation costs. If your line's in easement and the county's telling you to move it, they'll pay you to move it. But it's always hard to get easements.
Any further discussion?
We don't know where it hasn't been finalized on where the budget is being allocated from for the 20,000 for.
That has not been finalized yet. We would have to bring back a budget amendment because there was not a direct allocation as far as the budgeted item.
Are we able to do that at the next meeting? How critical is this decision tonight?
Their design, their 60% design plans, were gonna be either next week or upcoming, and then they'll be uniting in another 30 days. Yeah, engineering wise, I personally promised staff that, I can get this turned around in 30 days, so holding a month. It's more about holding the county's timeline again. I'm willing to work with y'all if it takes another month, I'm happy to.
I'd just like to see where we're gonna budget.
Yeah, of course.
It'll be
I'm happy to
with
push
bonds,
this,
correct?
No, not this. This is not this.
This, I mean, because this, that 20,000 would be specifically for just the design.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, we would have to do more investigation as far as if it could be covered by the bonds, but based on what we discussed with finance, it would not be something that we put under the bonds.
See, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Yeah, budget side of it. I understand the need, don't,
Mhm.
and I'm not, and I understand the importance of that county road, especially having, the traffic that it sees.
So when we did speak with Ida earlier, we spoke to her about this particular agenda item and the other one for the, Winston County floodplain. And we asked her specifically, do you feel comfortable, budgeting this or, amending the budget to accommodate for these items? And she did say yes. So total budget amendments between this project and that project would be $70,000. The $240,000 for the utility relocation would need to come out of future budget items. Our concern is that if this is delayed, then the county says you've lost your opportunity to, co-do the construction, and then we have to take it out for bid, because we can't get the design built into their design and increase costs. So if we allow MRB to do the design, the county will work that into their project plans, and then when they bid it out, it's all done as one complete project, instead of the county saying, okay, here's our portion, we need to get the city of Gerald for their portion of the design.
So you're saving money, but no.
Yes, sir.
And you said, she said, she can get the time.
That makes sense.
Yes, sir, I am standing up here, telling you that when we spoke tonight or earlier today, because I knew that this was gonna be a question from y'all, where in the budget this is going to be, so we specifically asked her about this portion and the, floodplain issue to see if she was comfortable saying that, yes, we could find money for this, and she said it's going to be tight, but she did feel comfortable saying that you could amend the budget to fund these two items in this fiscal year.
Now, if we do this, we got no more money, you can't ask us for anything else.
I won't be asking for anything else,
That's
so.
right.
Yeah.
Then I will make a motion to approve 2026-04-07-06 as direct, and staff is directed to proceed with option one and leave the existing wastewater line in place.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Unanimous? Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 5.10, discussing consideration of possible action regarding consent for the removal of property from the city of Gerald's ETJ. Property described as a 37.95 acre tract situated in James Robach Survey, abstract number 527, being a portion of the called 44.04 acre tract described in a special warranty deed to Mary Ann Hawthorne as recorded under instrument number 201-603-7893 of the official public records of Williamson County.
Mayor and council, I received a request for a ETJ removal from the Hawthorne tract, so this is gonna be the gray area located at the corner of Seabus Stockton and Cameron 305. Yep, right there. And basically, this is not gonna be serviced by the city from a water and wastewater standpoint. They're outside of our CCN area. So background, Texas law allows property owners to petition to release from the city's ETJ if the statutory criteria are met. That was all reviewed by staff and legal, and it was a valid request. And so if you, don't do anything to approve this request, then it would result in the automatic release of the ETJ. So this is more of just a, hey, we've acknowledged that you are willing to release from our ETJ. So the petition is submitted by the sole property owner holding 100% ownership. The property is not excluded by statutory area, and then petition satisfies local government code, and then the city is required to act on the statutory deadline. No fiscal impact to the city. This would just result in us relinquishing any planning or plotting capabilities within this area. And staff has reviewed everything. The property is not platted or developed at this time. It's not going to be serviced by the city of Gerald water or wastewater. And then there's no existing development agreements for this property. Staff recommends to proceed with approval.
Okay, I make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-0407, 07 and directing action by the mayor based on the discussed facts and findings.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor in a second. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Unanimous. Thank you. All right. Agenda item 5.11, discussion consideration of possible action regarding direction for the property at the northeast corner of I-35 and County Road 313. Legally described as 14.786 acres, advised as for survey, abstract number 54. Filed as a subdivision 313 commercial phase 2 in the official public record of Williams County, Texas.
Okay, so this one we're gonna, at least want to have a discussion about this. We have a developer truck that's potentially wanting to come in here. We have 0 utilities in here, and it's.
Go over the map so you can see location, and then we can go back to that.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the proposed location, across from the Walmart site. Okay.
So, the city, has a portion of it, and the other is inside of Sun Terrace. Basically, we're in a situation just like Walmart would be in, like how it was. So we wanna try to see what y'all's take is on this, what.
So, for clarification, the blue is gonna be Santerre mud, and then the red is gonna be City of Gerald, city limits, and then the green outline is the actual property. So it's split between both jurisdictions.
Where are you seeing red?
Sorry.
It's up here, around this.
Oh,
That's
that's the
city
red.
limits.
I don't see any red, but that little
I'm
circle
sorry.
that you're drawing is.
Like almost everything that's not covered in blue
Oh.
is city limits,
Okay.
and then within the green boundary is the property that we're talking about.
Okay, so it's half mud and half ours.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So we just,
Forest.
we kinda wanna get ahead of this before it turns into
Yeah.
a similar situation that we had with, okay.
This is the CCN map, so it shows you where Santerre and then Gerald Shorter, and then we have our CCN is on the west side of 35. And this is the sewer CCN, so showing you that split portion where it shows City of Gerald and then Santerre. LUEs, so the developer hasn't proposed their official development. They're very early in the stages, but we want to just get ahead of this. But we're estimating about 100 LUEs would be the allocation for this. They're saying like 7 quick service, retail, restaurant, those kinds of uses. And so ultimately, with the Willows Creek interceptor line that we talked about, with the Walmart development, there would be about 750 total LUEs in that line. So this is something that would impact that wastewater line if we were to service that area wastewater. What else you got on that? Anything?
No, that's
I think the biggest concern is gonna be overall cost to the city and what it's gonna cost long term, but then in the short term, what is it gonna take for us to get infrastructure over to the site? So because there's no existing utilities there, it's already been annexed by the city. State law requires that you're supposed to service areas within your city limits within a certain amount of time from it being annexed. I don't know exactly when this was annexed, but there should have probably been utilities already serviced to the property. So that's one point, but then the other point is, because it's split between Sonterra, what are we gonna do as far as creating an agreement like we did with the Cornell Business Park? Anything you would add?
Not that I'm very good. You hit it all.
Oh, good. So I think the biggest thing is gonna be the wastewater and then the fire flow. So Gerald Shortner would be the service provider for the water side. More than likely, they are not able to service from a fire flow standpoint. So when we had our discussions with Sonterra engineer, he indicated that Sonterra would be willing to take over the entire site as far as doing the sales tax appropriation. So if the city was able to de-annex the area, and then Sonterra would annex that area, and then decertify that area from the city of Gerald's sewer CCN, and then from Gerald Schwartner's water CCN. That seems like the most logical way to proceed, so that way it was all under one entity and we didn't have to have so many agreements in place, and then it would reduce the cost for the city to actually service that area. It would also alleviate from us having to allocate any additional LUEs into that Willis Creek interceptor line, so that we could use that for potential big box retail development behind the Walmart development. So not giving away any of those possible LUEs. Anything else?
I don't already.
Okay. Any questions, concerns? We really just need direction on how y'all are thinking y'all would like for us to go back and proceed with this, so that we can kind of give direction to the developers and let them know where they need to start as far as their discussions and agreements, negotiations.
I got a question out of the box here. Could you go back that map? All right, I think all that we were concerned with the flooding of Willis Creek. And now we're gonna put more businesses in there, and we're already gonna put a business in Walmart down there. And I think all that water is gonna flow under 313 and help flood Willis Creek along with Walmart. We were concerned about that. But do we have anything like, we're gonna put something to capture some water, just like Walmart's gonna capture some water, so those people downstream don't get flooded out?
So they will have to provide detention, and they do have that on their preliminary concept plan. But that goes back to that floodplain mapping. We don't have any flood maps for the city limits, and because this is split with Sonterra Mud, we don't have any regulatory control on what they can do with that portion. So that's another aspect to look at it from a control aspect. Sonterra Mud has Williamson County maps for floodplain, so they would be able to enforce any kind of retention, detention requirements and require them to adhere to BFE standards, whereas we would not have the.
What you wanna do basically is give this to Sonterra, and they're gonna put the businesses in there.
Well, the developers have already, I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was them directly or if it was the current property owner, but they have already done a grading permit for this property. So there is dirt being moved on the property, but it's not directly related to this development that's being proposed. So they are doing dirt work, because they can do dirt work.
Okay.
Problem is there's no utilities.
Yeah, there's no utilities, and so they're gonna have to build it up, and like you're saying, they're gonna have to provide some kind of detention to mitigate upstream and downstream properties from being flooded with this.
So say 20 years from now, will they be getting a lot of tax revenue from this situation where we gave it to them? Or?
That depends on what type of uses go in there, but ultimately, from what that site looks like and what they're proposing is small retail restaurant, and I think that the city would be more benefited from a sales tax basis to focus more on the big box retailers that would more than likely come in behind Walmart, because there's more relatively available land, plus there's already infrastructure that will be in place with the wastewater lines that will be allocated through that wastewater agreement with
Did you
Walmart.
suggest that we give that to?
From a logical aspect and utility aspect, yes, it would make it much easier on the staff and it would make it much easier on the developers.
It's definitely the cleanest option, and when we talk about it, we're only talking about that little sliver that's on the frontage road of 35 right there. I think they're projecting what, I think it was 4 retail stores on that right there,
Yeah,
possibly 5.
More than likely, that's gonna be more driveway parking
Yeah.
than actual
Correct.
buildings.
businesses.
So the actual sales tax may not even be much.
So who would get the sales tax in that area?
So if it was, de-annexed from the city and then annexed by Sonterra, then Sonterra would get the sales tax.
Gotcha.
Is it Sonterra or does the county collect sales tax? ESD.
Well, the ESD would get their portion.
Yeah, I don't,
Sonterra would
Collect sales tax.
I didn't think of them like did.
I didn't think
I
it
don't
would
know, I
collect
don't
sales
think that
tax.
Sonterra collects sales tax.
Don't we have an agreement with them, with the current businesses up and down I-35 where like they get the property taxes and get the sales tax?
Yeah, so that area was in city limits at one point, you de-annexed it so that Sonterra could include it in their bonds for infrastructure, because they couldn't, if the areas overlapped. But you did a strategic partnership agreement with them that you would receive some of some of the sales tax allocated. I don't know if Sonterra actually collects sales tax from
I don't
those
think they
businesses.
do.
I do not believe they do, so that agreement should have been filed with the comptroller, so that the city would collect some of the sales tax revenue.
So we can do something similar in this case where we can collect the sales tax?
We can ask, Sonterra if they would be agreeable to that. I don't know.
Yeah, it was definitely a question we can ask them for sure.
So very early on in these discussions, so that we can get some sort of
Just,
solid
I think that
plan.
would be.
Yeah, we just wanna know, like, how when we talk to the developer or to Sonterra to know what direction that we're.
And I'd like to know the value of the proposed developments, because at that moment too, we would be losing, property tax base.
So it depends on what goes in there.
Right.
Which we
They don't have any estimated.
No, ma'am.
That
So what they
water-
said was QSRs, like quick service, restaurants, retail, small retail.
There's no projected space on.
I mean, if it's a Chick-fil-A in there versus like a,
What does it
you
say?
know,
How many
they haven't told us like.
data available, all that.
Okay, so check with Sonterra and see if we would be able to receive some allocation for sales tax.
And if there's any projection on the tax base as far as what's being recruited or potentially being brought in.
Yeah, I would look at that, the other agreement we have with the other properties, and just go off of that. Just include it into that agreement.
Yeah, because they don't get the sales tax, right? That's what I've always been told. That's the direction. Is it clear?
Yeah.
As mud?
So if we de-annex, ask them if they would be willing to share in some of the sales tax revenue similar to the areas north on 35.
Because they are in our CCN, right? So
They're in a portion.
portion of it.
Yeah, so that's gonna be another challenging,
Right.
okay, so do we want to service any of this area? Do you guys want to service none of this area in terms of wastewater? Because they're gonna have to bore under County Road 313 to get service to that area from the city. Which would then take up some of that interceptor line capacity like Forrest was talking about earlier. Or you can see as Sonterra did say that they would be willing to service the entirety of that area, and then we don't have that challenge. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay, so we have no action. Agenda item 5.11, agenda item 5.12, discussion, consideration, possible action on waiving the Gerald Community Library and Resource Center development fees.
Thank you, sir. As you know, the community library has been working on constructing their site in front of the Eastern Wall subdivision. They were donated land by a local landowner. City manager previously gave verbal direction to staff to waive fees for this development. So far they have had their plating fees waived and feasibility study fees waived. What we're getting to now is like their permitting, so site development permit, their building permit. And I indicated to community library representatives that I wanted to get this formally decided upon by city council, so that moving forward, yes, since I am moving, I want them to have something to lean back on when they come forward for their permitting fees. So you do have a couple of options. You can say that you're gonna waive all city fees, or all fees associated with their projects. You should have a cost allocation in your staff report. You can say that you are going to waive only city collected fees, any third-party consultant fees they still need to pay for, or you can say that you would waive no fees. This is up to you. Fees that have been waived to date, as I stated, were the feasibility study, $2,500, the minor plat fee, $2,625, so total fees waived to date, $5,125. We do anticipate that estimated future fees are approximately $13,775. So if city council does say, okay, we will waive all of your fees in their entirety, then you'd be looking at approximately $20,000. So I'm available for questions if you have any. Looking for some guidance.
When you're looking at the estimated future fees, how many of that are city and how many of that, how do we know what it differentiates into contractor or city fees?
So your commercial base permit fee is gonna be a third-party fee, your inspection fees are gonna be a third-party fee, your engineering inspection, because they're gonna require a sewer tap, that's gonna be a third-party fee. Commercial plan review is gonna be a third-party fee, your LUB fee, that's us, yeah. And technology fee is us, so you're looking just shy of, right around $8,400 for city fees.
The fees waived to date, were those city only or were those contracted?
No, ma'am, those were a third party as well. So feasibility study is through KPA for, their feasibility study to be completed. Minor plat fee, we do have a third party review fee on that. We do have MRB does reviews on our plats.
So waiving these fees but paying them out of city budget.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I was asking.
So is there any, since they're a nonprofit and we're using taxpayer dollars that were authorized, and is there any concern legally right there? I mean, we're giving money to just taxpayer dollars to another organization.
It's not really giving them money, it's just you're waiving it, you're not charging them the money, so.
On those third party fees, though,
Well, the
we have
third
to
party,
turn
you do
around
have
and
to
pay.
pay, you do have to pay that. But you're free, I mean, technically you can waive any of the fees you want to waive.
You do have similar agreements with the Gerald School District, and I know that like two completely separate entities, the Gerald High School has all of their fees waived, whether they are in-house fees or third-party fees. So 100% of their permitting fees are waived. Some of the other school campuses, sorry.
But it's changed, right, now? I think we changed that.
The last update that I had from city manager prior to administrative leave is that Gerald High School specifically has all of their fees waived. You have some other campuses that only have like city fees waived, and they still have to pay for third-party fees.
We do have
Yeah, I was gonna say, where should I jump in with my opinion? You jump up?
yeah, you can come on up. Add to the conversation. It's Jenny Roberts, Axelrod.
Thank you.
Good evening.
And I really appreciate all of the attention being paid to this discussion. The city, or the library has been working on raising this money to make this move, because the mud definitely needs them to move. And basically it comes down to just less than $6 a person for the $100,000 that they need to make that move. We have been pushing and encouraging and cajoling and begging and just pleading with everybody to help raise this money. And it has literally become a Gerald Santera project, because the library truly belongs to everybody. It belongs to Gerald and it belongs to Santera. And it has become one of the most cohesive forces for this group, because there's so many different things that the library does, so many different programs that the library does. So I understand there's a lot of complicated aspects to this, that it's not just a matter of, signing your name and okay, the magic, fees waiving fairy will sign will waive all the fees, but in the spirit of trying to build this library as belonging to everybody, Gerald and Santera, I would encourage you to waive any and all fees that you can on this, because they're literally scraping together to get the last $40,000 that they need, and they don't have it quite yet, but they have raised so much money trying to get there already, and just constantly trying to get money throughout Facebook and all the different appeals to the public, Gerald and Santera. So that's what I wanted to say, is that, in the spirit of the library belonging to everybody, belonging to Gerald and belonging to Santera, please do what you reasonably can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So where is this coming out of the budget if we're paying both parties?
I think we've already paid them too. Not realizing that they would.
We've already paid these are upcoming.
The fees that we currently waive to date were third-party fees.
Right. But moving forward, if we're talking about what the estimated future fees, at $13,000, and you take these 4 first line items out, where is that coming from in the budget if we're paying those third
We have
parties?
some budget line items that kind of have some space in there. Because I know in the past, we waived those fees for the school, and they were substantial, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Yeah. And that never came before council. And so now we had it in the budget to waive hundreds of thousands of dollars of fees, so.
If you are going to do budget amendments.
Just as an example.
Then you may have, salary adjustments that could accommodate for that type of stuff as well.
And we're currently also still doing the $10,500 a year to the library, is that correct? As far as we know?
Yes, I believe that check was cut off. Yeah.
And so the MUD is still doing an in-line contribution as per our contract agreement?
I don't know about that, I apologize. Jenny, do you know if the MUD contributes money to the library as well, as part of one of their line items they're budgeted?
I don't know, and Carter Dean keeps telling me after May you'll know all the things, and I'm like, I've been asking for a lot of information, but I don't know for sure. I can text Susan to find out. Let's see if she knows.
It's a contractual agreement we have, so, what was that, yeah, in-kind contribution, so if it's in-kind, will they be helping on any of these fees that we're being asked to? So,
If Santera would be,
if it's gonna be a big community thing, it's in-line contribution,
I mean, they don't do permitting.
I know, they cough up some money to help.
I know Gerald Schwartner, I believe, has offered, some in-kind donations similar to this, yeah. I don't know, I know that Santera has extended the lease agreement for the library, to accommodate like their timeframe, but I don't know about.
To the end of June.
To the end of June.
To the end of June and not a minute more.
I'm just being very careful because we set precedents and then any nonprofit can come in expecting the same things. And so that's why I'm being very careful.
Absolutely, and I understand that. So the previous city that I worked in, they would allocate, say, and I'm not saying you have to do this, say $100,000 for grants for nonprofits within the city limits. They would have to show budget, what they're doing with this, what improvement it would give to the community, and it's at council's discretion as to who within these applicants is awarded that money. And they would have some that would get awarded money one year and would not follow protocol and not be awarded money in the future. So it is, I know that you are concerned about it setting a precedent, but it is absolutely at your discretion to show if a nonprofit is, you know, not worthy, but if it's an applicable nonprofit to receive this type of contribution.
You know, what I hate to do is somebody from the city, especially a city manager, telling them that we're gonna waive the fees.
Correct.
And then not actually doing it, because I assume that they have, the library has a budget, and then they're trying to afford to actually build the building, and so, you know, they have expected costs, and if they were told one thing by somebody, from the city, especially the city manager, I hate to take that back, but what I would like to see is the city manager not having that power to waive fees just because they want to waive them. That should be council decision. That's just my opinion.
I think we all agree with you.
Okay.
Let's make that an agenda item.
Get that done.
So I do think that the library is definitely a valuable asset to the city of Gerald, with the programs they provide, and everything they do. And like the precedence has already been set, we'll waive, first two fees. And I do like the concept of, allocating funds and then having these entities apply and share services with us to see if there's any consideration on how we can provide assistance and not just isolate, nonprofits. We give everybody an opportunity.
I may be getting an answer. The bubbles. The bubbles are attached to the bubbles, just from Susan. This is manning the bubbles, and then they go away, and then they come back, and then they go away. I apologize, but I have a feeling this is gonna be of value.
When are these fees coming up? Because I know they're still working on, their funding. Are they in the near future? Or-
Their site development fee, site development review fee and building permit fee will come up within the next 60 days, as they have to be out of that building.
Back next month, it still doesn't,
No, they're gonna, yeah, they'll have plans submitted. They actually should have already had them submitted for review, but they will have them submitted by the end of this week for review.
Okay, I have an answer. Do you want it from here, or do you want me to come up to the?
Come on up.
Okay. Susan, the director, as far as the question, does the money contribute to the library, and if it plans to contribute after the move, it's a question that's come up. Or is the use of the building the extent of their financial interest? And she says they do not give us anything. They used to give us free rent, but starting 2025, we have reduced rent of $750 and cut our space in half. So that's heartbreaking.
That is, it doesn't say it's community then.
That's really heartbreaking. However, I'll be there fighting and arguing with them come May, so that may change. This definitely has been a community effort in putting out a call to everybody, because I calculated it out, if the entire population of Gerald plus the entire population of Santera together, put their money together to be able to come up with this required $100,000, it would cost $5.80 for every single person in that population between Gerald and Santera. And when I put it out there and really started pushing it on Facebook, they got thousands immediately, because the entire community is very determined that this library should stay. that is heartbreaking, and it's also quite embarrassing, and, I will be on the mud court soon, and I will be helping to do what I can to push, to change that as well, but I can't make any decisions right now because I'm not on there. And, I was not even aware of this, so, again, I would like to, plead for fee waivers and any financial assistance that can be made, and, I'll be happy to swing that in front of their face and say, well, what's wrong with you?
Thank you.
I certainly don't wanna make excuses for anybody, but just consider that Sonterra has had that building, I believe, since the MUD was established, and they have had significant growth of staff. And I believe that that's probably the catalyst behind them needing that space from the library. I don't know about the rent, but, you know, yeah, I mean, our city hall itself has been expanded, they have to expand their space as well to accommodate for, they have quite significant Parks and Rec staff, I believe, so.
I'm gonna motion to approve the waiver of permitting and development related review fees for the community library project.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second.
Can I ask for clarification, or is there going to be a cap for that? Is it going to be all fees?
As presented.
As presented, so up to that 18,000 as presented in the presentation, okay.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. No further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes 3-2. Okay, agenda item 5.13, discussion, consideration, and possible action on ordinance number 2026-0407-03, an ordinance of the city council of the city of Gerald amending article 8.02 of the code of ordinances relating to noise regulations, declaring the existing article obsolete, replacing the article to provide for an updated noise regulations and associated procedures, providing for enforcement mechanisms, repealing all other ordinances to the extent they are in conflict, providing for penalties, providing for severability, savings clause, and setting of an effective date.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. This is the noise ordinance that we discussed multiple times, so I'm not gonna go through it in all.
Yeah, we're not,
Line by line?
You had the red line version, you had the clean copy version. Ultimately, those changes that we talked about in February were incorporated, reviewed by legal, everything looks good, no fiscal impact, staff analysis, recommendations.
Okay.
It's approved.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-0407-03 as read in the caption by the mayor based on staff's recommendation and findings.
Thank you.
Thank you, Forrest.
Thank you.
He did.
Second? Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. No further discussion? If not, okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. It is unanimous. Agenda item 5.14, discussion, consideration, and direction to establish installation of a street light at the intersection of Town Center Boulevard and West FM 487 due to safety concerns.
Thank you, sir. So I will confess, this is kind of a personal item. When you're driving north on 487 and try to turn on Town Center Boulevard, it's very dark. There is a drainage feature there. I do have concerns that somebody's going to cut that turn sharp and go into that drainage feature. So I'm just asking for guidance to staff for vehicular safety, pedestrian safety, if we can pursue getting a quote from an electrician and Encore to get a street light installed there. So you can see heading north on 47, making a right-hand turn onto Town Center. This is the potential, like the very concerning area, a very dark intersection. In particular right there, there's a drainage feature that is very hard to see. You can't see, there's like no reflectivity over in this area at all, so you can't see where the roadway is. Basically just asking, would you, no monetary cost at this point. Hopefully the next item that would be brought back to you is a quote from Encore and an electrician to get a meter base installed and Encore's cost to have a street light installed over there. The city would be responsible for the electricity to that street light, as it would be a city-owned street light at that point. People getting information.
Do we have plans to actually put in a stoplight there at some point, or is that the county name they put in?
Those are your city roads.
487.
Those are your city roads, so that would be your,
Traffic
City
study,
girls'
traffic
responsibility,
study
that's
and
fine.
all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
If we do a traffic study or something like that, tell us.
I don't know that you have enough traffic really at that intersection. I haven't been there in the morning, like when Home Place is coming out, there are two exits out of Home Place, but I don't know that it would be enough to warrant,
There's a lot of wrecks.
There's
a lot of traffic early in the, oh, yeah, oh,
And
yeah,
it's 6
When-
o'clock.
yeah.
I mean, there's one
Sometimes
right-
you're
one right
sitting-
up the road by the school.
Yeah.
There's eventually gonna be one there, I just don't know when it's gonna happen.
I think the transportation master plan would also address that.
as like a critical intersection requiring, yeah.
Cause they'll look at traffic counts and then they'll look at crash data and all of that, so.
So no, we don't need to take an action necessarily, but we're verbalizing, giving you direction to pursue
Yeah, just pursue.
information and getting that light.
I will probably ask Lynn to present that since it is like a street item, so hopefully we'll come back to you in the next few months with that information.
Okay. We're gonna go to agenda item number 6, we're gonna adjourn to closed session. Discuss 6.1, closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071 for consultation with the city attorney on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules, professional conduct, the state bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meetings Act regarding a nuisance abatement. 6.2, closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071 for consultation with the city attorney on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct, the state bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meetings Act regarding city manager. And 6.3, closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074 to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee regarding city manager. City Council is now adjourned at 6:43 p.m.
6:43.
9:43, sorry. Gerald City Council is now back in session at 10:51 p.m. Okay, agenda item 7, we're going to reconvene into open session to consider, discuss, deliberate, and take action on any items discussed in executive session. Agenda item 7.1, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the nuisance abatement and costs associated with the property located at 500 North 5th Street here in Gerald, Texas.
Mayor, correct for the record, is it 800?
It's 800.
800,
Okay.
okay.
Just correcting that for the record.
800 North 5th Street.
Ready? I move pursuant to the city's police power to protect public health and safety to authorize any contracts and authorization needed and expand the funds necessary for the removal and cleanup of the hazardous waste located at 800 North 5th Street and authorize the mayor to execute any documents necessary.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Unanimous. Agenda item 7.2, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding consultation with the city attorney on a matter which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct, the state bar of Texas, clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meetings Act regarding the city manager.
I would make a recommendation to do any action on the next item.
Yeah. So we have no action on this item. Moving on to agenda item 7.3, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of public officer or employee to wit, city manager.
Mayor, I move to accept the resignation of Jorge Hernandez, the city manager, to approve the separation agreement as proposed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. It was unanimous. With that, we have no further business, so we are adjourned at 10:53 p.m.